All right, FLG Director here, Eric Dunne, and also coach of the 2021 team with our next installment of X's and O's with FLG. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about our red defense versus a 4-on-3 fast break. I'm sure most coaches out there are very familiar with your typical triangle rotation. We call that our green rotation, where the point guy is going to stop the ball, and once he passes it to the point man, everybody's going to rotate in that basic triangle and try and force as many passes as possible. At FLG, we try and force people to shoot from the outside as often as possible. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about a different way of playing the 4-on-3. So one of the teaching points that we talk about right away is that as this midfielder starts to come down, it's really important that this point defenseman drop right to the middle of the field at 8 to 10 yards. He wants to be well below that point attackman, and he wants to be in the middle. Okay? As this midi starts to come down with the ball, I think too often our eager younger defensemen, they want to stop ball at like the top of the box, okay? You have to understand as the point defenseman what we're trying to give up here. We don't really want to give up any sort of shots that are going to be an easy look or an easy decision for the attackman. I think way too often we make our slides early. The attack guys have a lot of time to decide where they want to go with the ball, and we're going to try and stop that from happening, okay? So again, we're going to let this midfielder carry a little bit deeper to the box, and then what we're going to try and do is before he's getting to the attackman's level, we're going to hedge, okay? One of the things that is really underrated as young defensemen is using our voice, okay? Screaming hold as loud as we can, maybe even call go, and you take those 2 hard steps towards that midfielder coming down. You want to really fake out that you're going to slide, okay? And that's what hedging is all about. Getting that midfielder to believe that you're actually coming when you're really not. That's the basic principle behind red, is I want to hedge 2 or 3 steps over, make that midi give the ball up, and then that defenseman, you're going to snap back. Okay? One of the things that takes a lot of discipline in this is not coming off the bottom. Okay? These defensemen are going to stay on these guys when the ball gets thrown to that point attackman. Even if this attackman is stepping in for a crow hop, that's the defenseman, the point defenseman's job is to try and get back at all costs. And think about it, guys. We're still giving up an 8 to 10 yard with the goalie looking at the ball rather than giving up a 3 or 4 yard shot where the goalie may have to move from pipe to pipe. All right? Also, remember, young attackmen are taught to stare at the bottom defenseman to look at where they're supposed to go with the ball. So a lot of times, if you have that discipline and you stay on your attackman, it gives you that point guy that second to get back as that attackman goes through his reads. He looks at that bottom lefty, he's covered. He looks at the bottom righty, he's covered. And by that time, often, our point defenseman is able to get back. Now, the one thing that you'll see sometimes teams figure out that you're doing this, all right? And there's 2 options of what they can do. Either they're going to have this midi come down and shoot, in which case, even though you're hedging, you may actually have to fully come. But at this point, that midi is going to have carried so deep that by the time that you actually get to him, he's going to have to throw backwards to that point guy at X. And that's a hard pass to make at the youth level. Okay, it's a hard pass even to make at the high school level. And again, you're still in a position where you're giving up the 12-yard shot as opposed to the 3 and 4 yard shot. At the very young levels, these passes often get dropped, but when you get into the middle school and high school levels, at the elite level, these are usually going to get hooked up and it's going to be a dunk. All right? The other thing that sometimes you see on the fast break is that this midi will come down. He's now going to get crafty. He's going to throw the ball early to that attackman to get our D guy to cut. All right? So we're going to hedge here, and then we're going to snap back, and he tries to give it up early. However, most defensemen in this situation, or most midfielders I should say in this situation, are going to continue their cut on this give and go, trying to get it back from this attackman. This is what brings us to our last point, and this is the reverse rotate. If they try to give and go on you, now we're going in a position where this midfielder has to try and catch a ball across his body to try and score the goal. Now we will slide off the bottom. All right. Usually you get a great hit on a midfielder there to dislodge the ball. This defenseman will slide across in our reverse rotation, and our defenseman from the point will get down the backside.